I'm going to go with my friends
Actually,
to the zoo. Yeah.
actually, I'm gonna be like the person guiding you through, and don't forget to bring your Stanley.
Or water bottle.
Stanley.
Right now, we need to buy tickets from, I think, there. Do you know? Okay, yeah. Well, tickets. We just got through we need to scan this. We got through.
We're gonna go see the flamingos.
So the flamingos, look at them. A lot of them are sleeping. We're looking for a crocodile. If you see any, comment down below. Okay, so we found a tortoise. Okay, a big habitat for him, even though he's a giant. One is hiding over there, and one's just, I'm not knowing. Oh, moved his head. Cool. Look at that crocodile. It's on the island. Okay, we're a bit late to the panther show. We need to run. Never mind. This is the a cafe. Look at this. He's a big one. Oh. Right there. There should be a bear over here, but I think it's in the cave. It's either birds or bears. At this humongous snake. Yeah, it should be a lot. Look at this. My mom and my friend said this is a Look how long it is. This is so beautiful.
I want to pet it.
And long. There's another tortoise over here. It's the gopher tortoise. Long lived Souther. I found a hyena. I do not know how to say it. It's right there. Oh, wow. Look at that. Hyena. This is a striped hyena.
Hyena.
Hyena. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes. You see that dotted thing over there? That is the whatever, I forgot the name. Yeah, the cheetah. There.
Where do you see the cheetah?
Look at those giraffes. There's also a couple
And then like
over here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 4 giraffes total.
You come over here. You come a little closer. My name is Jeremy, and welcome to the Draft Keeper Chat. It is super informal, so if you have any questions at any time, as best I can. With that being said, does anybody have any burning questions before we get started? That we have in our herd, they're a little bit unique, but as I'm talking, don't worry about looking at me. I'm just a person. Watch all the little things that they're doing. I'll try to point out their little minute behaviors and details to the best of my ability, but a large head in my way of being able to see everybody, then I will do my best. But we have 4 giraffes in our herd. They all have one thing in common. Anybody want to guess what it is besides being a giraffe? Exactly. That means we have a bachelor herd. Bachelor herds are a bit uncommon under human care. I'll get into that in just a minute. But they're actually quite common in the wild. So usually whenever you have a breeding herd, you typically only have one male and usually about 4 to 6 females in the wild. And as they are giving birth to calves, and they usually give birth about once every 2 years, gestation is about 14 to 16 months. Raise those kids for a little bit until they're about 8 months old, and then they can kind of fend for themselves. But yeah, 8 months. And then as they are reaching adulthood, as you can imagine, the chances of a male versus a female giraffe being born are about 50-50. And any male giraffes that are born into their father's herd are typically not able to spend the rest of their life with that herd. So once they're getting to the age of about 2 to 3 years old, they're usually about 1,000 pounds, about 10 feet tall, kind of start feeling themselves. They're like, yeah, I got a lot of testosterone in my body. I'm a big boy giraffe. Twice in height and a little more than 3 times in body weight. And those young males will go up to their dads and they'll be like, okay, let me show you how big I am. Let's spar a little bit. And sometimes dads are really nice. They're really gentle. They're kind of like, okay, hey, you know what? Here, I'll just play with you. Nice little light punches. They swing their heads at each other, do a little bit of light necking, and then the boy understands, okay, I don't need to do that. Sometimes, though, they'll kind of swing too hard for themselves, and then dad will put them in their place, and then dad will kick them out of their herd, which is okay. But sometimes this happens in multiple herds at the same time. So you have all these young males that get kicked out of their dad's herd, and they're kind of wandering out on their own in the same territory. But because giraffes are herd animals, they usually end up finding each other, and then they form a little so then they form little bachelor groups, and then they hang out together for another 6 to 7 years. Sometimes they splinter off But that math that we're talking about for the genetics is the same under human care. So 1 male for every 4 to 6 females in a breeding herd. But then that 50-50 chance of a male being born versus a female being born is the same. So obviously there are males under human care also that do not get to breed. Even to the point where, let's say you have a male giraffe and he breeds with a single female or a herd of females, and let's say he has 8 calves and 7 of them are males. There's a solid chance one of those 7 boys is not going to get to breed in his life, just because those genetics don't need to be overrepresented in the population. I see you, sir. Ironically, all 4 of our boys, their fathers and grandfathers did very well for themselves, so their genetics were very well represented in the population, even from the time of their birth. So they're kind of labeled as non-breeding for the rest of their lives. Most of the time under human care, when this happens, you'll see them sent out to a large pasture, maybe like a drive-through safari facility, just something with a lot of space, because handling 4 males is a lot of work. And they're not uncommon, so they can be managed. And we here at the Naples Zoo kind of took on the challenge of saying, hey, how can we manage them? Is there a way that we can do it? Even to the point where most of the time, if there is an undesired male, or maybe his genetics are undesired, they will just sort of like write them off and not have to take care of them. But we kind of proved that you can have them in an accredited facility. They can interact with guests. They can have a fairly nice life. And they can hang out with each other. But we'll go through their names real quick. So first up, if you're up at our feeding station, most of the time you will meet Mr. Bruler here. Easy way to tell Mr. Bruler apart from the other boys is that he has those standard brown spots, but inside of his brown spots, he does have a little bit of white. Then over here behind me is Mr. Bolo. Bolo stands out from the other ones just because he's a very dark coloration, so his spots are almost like a coffee brown to black. But then if you look at his lines in between, they're very, very pure white. Almost looks like somebody took a bleach pen, because it'll literally be like a black hair and a white hair right next to each other. And then, excuse me, sir, your head is very large. Excuse me. Medium to thought, as he does. Easy way to tell him apart from the other individuals, he has that dark coloration as well, but then his lines in between look a little bit washed out. So he has even a dark brown in between as well. He also has a bit of a rounder face, so his ossicones are not as pronounced. Particularly the one in the front there. And then at the very back, you have Mr. Zuri. Zuri looks very much like Bruler in the sense that he has a very standard coat color and shape. However, he does not have white inside of his brown. And if you're actually able to see them standing next to each other, you would see that their body conformation is actually very different from one another. So Bruler here is a little bit stockier. He's a little bit wider at the shoulder. He's about 4 feet wide at the shoulder. Whereas Zuri in the back there is actually very lean. He's about 3 to 3.5 feet wide at the shoulder.
Carrots.
Trees, yeah, trees is a good one. Leaves is a bit of a better generalization. Excuse me. So they can eat grass. I have seen giraffes that would be like, oh, that grass looks delicious. I'm gonna bend down, I'm gonna eat it. It is not the most efficient process, but they do it from time to time. But really, most of the time, people think, oh, giraffes are really tall. That means they must really like eating from tall trees. That is the opposite of what a giraffe wants to do. A giraffe wants to exert the least amount of energy in a given day, as much as possible. They are trying to be as efficient as possible. Even to the point where you see Jumanji back there. You see him sitting there chewing his cud? Okay, now he's done chewing his cud. But whenever they're chewing cud, they stop moving. They stop. They just say, okay, look, I'm going to exert energy to digest this food. I don't want to have to exert energy to go anywhere else. So you'll, because they're asleep. So they like to save energy in the hottest part of the day by going to sleep, because then you don't have to exert any energy. Whereas when it gets cooler in the evenings and the afternoons, they really like to wake up and they start moving around a little bit more, getting a little more active. I see you, sir. I see you. Don't worry, Ruler. Don't worry. But yeah, giraffe's favorite meal, they're probably going to walk up to a shrub, so a medium-sized shrub, probably about 10 feet tall. Hi, buddy. Probably about 10 feet tall, and they park their front feet into the first section of that shrub, and they use their head like a cherry picker, and they just trim all the leaves off that they possibly can get to. But the way they do this is with that long tongue. So their tongue is about 18 inches long, so it's about an inch in length per foot in height. So yes, male tongues are longer than females. Just because females are usually only ever about 14 to 16 feet tall and only about 1,500 to 2,000 pounds, depending on if they are pregnant or not. And yes, they do gain about 500 pounds during pregnancy. But they use that tongue. It is prehensile, so they'll wrap it around branches and strip all the leaves off. And if they need to, they can even use it like a sandpaper. So it's really heavily textured. You can see these. And sand it down ever so slightly. Thank you so much. Ever so slightly until they get all the snacks. Bark is actually a really healthy thing for them to eat. Has a lot of nutrients, has a lot of fiber, and they're able to break it down since these guys are ruminants, they need to basically manage their fiber and their pH of their rumen to make sure everything is nice and healthy. But like I said, that tongue is their primary tool. So anything you can do with your fingers and hands, they can do with their tongues and more, except they don't have to worry about bones. So they can even bend their tongues backwards, upside down. I've even met a few giraffes that got really tricky and they would tie their tongues in knots around branches and then pull really hard, and then they break the whole branch off and they take it to go and eat it. But that tongue's job is to get the food to the lips as quickly as possible. Thank you, sir, for all that hot breath right in my face. Their teeth don't do a whole lot of work, so they only have incisors on the bottom and the front. So whenever you see a giraffe take a bite of something, they're probably going to try to use their tongue or their lips as much as possible. So you can see it's very, very gentle. If they ever do bite something, it's going to be a quick pop of their head. The triangle shape of their head actually helps with that, so it applies leverage to those bottom teeth. Pay attention to, as he's consuming this lettuce, this is a lot of fiber, a lot of water, really good for him. He'll force that food back onto his molars, onto his by his cheek. He'll form a little food bolus, which is just another fancy word for a food ball in his cheek. And then as soon as that cheek disappears and it gets nice and shallow, watch his neck. You'll actually be able to see that bolus go all the way down his throat, and then it'll go into his rumen. You want to take a big bite? Let's see. So you can see he'll try to use his tongue as much as possible, using those big dexterous lips. He's not going to bite, he's not going to bite, he's not going to bite. And then he pulls. So again, even there, he didn't even really use his teeth at all. He just used his lips to press down hard enough to break it off ever so slightly. Yes, sir. What do you think? More snacks? Of course, absolutely more snacks. But they can consume large amounts of vegetation, so they can eat up to 20 to 22 hours a day. So as you can imagine, my job is very, very simple. Provide the food throughout the day. Literally, I clean up the poop, and then I provide food, and then I clean up that, and then I provide more food, and then I clean up that, and I provide more food throughout the day. Luckily, having something like a feeding station is actually quite advantageous. So obviously, one, it gets people to interact with giraffes throughout the day, which is very, very nice. Everybody loves interacting with giraffes. But it also gives them something to do throughout the day. Obviously, it is super nice to be able to say, okay, here, you want to take things from people throughout the day and have snacks all the time, and I can have people with eyes on them at all times. So if anything happens, there are people here, and they can let me know what's going on. Human care have a lot less stressors. Again, very much like us. Whenever they're stressed, they sleep less. But under human care, they usually sleep about 7 to 8 hours. Ironically, that lines up very evenly with our schedule. So they know whenever we leave for the day, they're like, okay, we'll eat the snacks they gave us, and then we'll get ready to go to sleep. Most of the time, our 4 boys really like sleeping either up here in the front. So there's a very soft pile of dirt here. I know you can't really tell. But then also in the middle of these poles right here is a very nice soft section. Giraffes can sleep standing up, so they can lock out their joints, and they can shut down. They can even take a quick little, like, I kid you not, a 2-minute power nap. So they will literally like shut down and then boot back up and they're ready to go. But if they need to like fully lay down, if they're like, you know what, I'm gonna clock out for a few hours, they lay down. It is not the most graceful of procedures, if you can imagine your body and your legs being a third of your body height. Basically, they do a half squat and then kind of flop down, and then they kind of tuck their limbs up underneath them. Hi, Maj. They tuck their limbs up underneath them, very much like a horse does. You'd be surprised how small of a space an 18-foot giraffe can fit his whole body into when he really wants to take a nap. Full sleep, it's called a full tuck. Typically, you only ever see it in calves that are tucked away by moms. They do that little lay down, and then they wrap their head and neck around their body like a cinnamon roll with their head on the tippy top. What do you think, buddy? What do you think? Do you want a big bite? We can do a big bite for you, too. But you can see they have very dexterous lips, lots of little whiskers on there, lots of muscle. Hi, ooh, that's warm. And they really love going into trees. So in the afternoon, we as keepers provide browse for them. Browse is just a very generic term for any edible tree or shrub that we can provide for them. Each giraffe gets their own tree. So we have 4 pulleys. So we have 2 up front and then 2 in the back. Each giraffe gets their own tree. We string it up. It is upside down. Don't worry, they don't care. They just see the leaves and the sticks and they go to town. And they will take an entire tree and they whittle it down to literally just the trunk. And then they also remove the bark off of the entire trunk as well. That's a major part of their diet. Everything else is just supplemental. And it takes up really good nutrients. Any questions, guys?
Does the neck lock in place too when they sleep?
No, the neck doesn't particularly lock in place. It's quite relaxed. You'd actually be surprised how much is actually just muscle being held in place. So it's kind of like when you relax your fingers, most human fingers sit here versus like a sloth. If a sloth relaxes their muscles, their muscles actually relax to this position. Giraffes are kind of the same way. When they relax their muscles, it just stays vertical. Nice and easy. Thank you, sir. You just took all the snacks in one bite. That was very, very nice. Good question. All right, guys, I'll be hanging around up here in the front for the next couple minutes. The feeding station will open back up. Apologies for the drool. If you have any questions, feel free to come on up and ask them. Other than that, thank you. Have a great day. Enjoy the zoo. Enjoy the weather.
Can you pick those up for me? I'll hold them for you.
This is a honey badger. We first thought that this was a skunk. Then we found out this is a honey badger right over here.
No, it says over there.
Hey, we're going out on a cruise. We see the monkeys. That is where we dock, and we are
We are
now.
backing out onto Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria is named after the second largest lake in Africa, Lake Victoria. Big difference, this is a brackish water lake and obviously a lot smaller. Brackish meaning salt and fresh water. Tremendous ecosystem of alligators. All the alligators are in Alligator Bay. If you think you see an alligator, it's a floating coconut. So if you go off to your left, you see the Siamang gibbons. There's a pair of them out here, a bonded pair, a male and a female, from Southeast Asia, Indonesia area. Powerful arms,
You might not see it,
biceps that are
but
huge. They have an interesting breaking stride.
it's
The one under the
like
shed
a
there, you can
rectangle.
see her sitting in the shade.
There's
Now,
the
you can tell me
turtle.
the difference between
But
monkeys
no.
and apes.
Oh, there's a monkey right there.
Yeah, there's a
I will
monkey
drop you off on the
somewhere.
ice
Wait,
with
no,
your
is that a monkey?
choice.
Oh yeah, wait, it looks like a, I don't know.
Going down in
that.
the blowing in the wind. On this first platform here, you'll see
What?
the
Who knows?
hanging out the thing at home.
There's another and two sons.
There's that tail. You can see that big 4-foot long.
You go on over there. I see that black
They have a tactile
one.
hang
You might
on
not
the
see
side
it,
of it.
but
That allows
There.
them to use such dexterity that they can fingers
There's a monkey over there.
And there's another very large iguana. I'll come back up a second.
look at this slide. I think it's a female. Yeah, it's not the male. Hand or no? Look at these zebras. There's also one over there. There's a cheetah, I think, and there's supposed to be a porcupine somewhere. I do not know where it is. Now I'm going to the park. A little park next to the cafe. Look at this bird. I do not know what this is, but the only thing I know it's a bird. Do you know what it is?
It's a South American forest habit. Oh wait, no, never mind.
Yeah, it's not that. No, it's the habit again. Well, it doesn't. Oh wait. Oh right. No. What? No.
Wait, that's a
no.
sloth, and there's tortoises.
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. Look at those birds. Why? Oh, it's standing up. It's just laying. It's lazy, I think. It is a virtual vulture. And it just, I do not know what it is. It's just standing there. Look at its habitat. It's like the real one. But it's not. Look at this bird. Silent ground hornbill. And look, it has an ornament. Cool. It's a coyote. Look at that. A little cave. Where is he going? That's my question. There's a monkey. He's doing something. He's playing. This bear, it's just sleeping, relaxing, and yeah, that was my friend.